The silk is gone. The gold is gone. The incense that once perfumed every room she entered has been replaced by the smell of unwashed stone, sweat, and the leather armor of Roman soldiers who now stand inside her chamber. Not outside. Inside. Cleopatra Philopator is 39 years old. She sits on a wooden chair that once belonged to a servant, feeling the rough grain through the thin linen garment she has been left to wear. The door no longer locks from the inside. The guards watch her every movement, every breath, every moment. They speak Latin freely, assuming she does not understand. She understands every word. She tastes blood in her mouth from where she bit through her own lip days earlier, when she learned what Octavian intended to do with her in Rome. 23 days ago, she was the last pharaoh of Egypt, ruler of the wealthiest kingdom in the Mediterranean, lover of Julius Caesar, wife of Mark Antony, mother of 4 children who carried both Ptolemaic and Roman blood. She commanded fleets. She negotiated with emperors. She spoke multiple languages and debated philosophy with scholars and strategy with generals. Her ancestors built the Library of Alexandria. Her family's name crowned the lighthouse that guided ships from every corner of the known world. She was Isis incarnate, Queen of Kings. Now she is a prisoner in her own palace. She does not yet know that her son Caesarion, 17 years old, the child she bore with Julius Caesar, has already been captured while attempting to flee east. She does not know that he will be executed because Rome cannot allow another Caesar to live. She does not yet know that her younger children have already been designated as property of the Roman state, to be raised in Octavian's household as living trophies of conquest. What she does know is that the guards changed shifts hours ago. What she knows is that the night guards are different from the day guards. What she knows is that the night commander has made his expectations clear. And what she knows with absolute certainty is that her death is the last thing she still controls. The story you were taught does not begin here. You were taught a legend, a beautiful queen, a tragic love affair, a dramatic suicide with a snake. That is not this story. This is the story of what actually happened to Cleopatra after the Battle of Actium, the naval disaster that shattered her power and left her trapped in a kingdom already being carved apart by Roman administrators before she had even surrendered. The Battle of Actium was fought in the late summer off the western coast of Greece. Cleopatra commanded the finest ships Egypt possessed. Mark Antony commanded the remnants of a divided Roman world. Octavian commanded something else entirely: control. As the Roman fleet closed around Antony's forces, Cleopatra watched ship after ship burn. Men she had known for years drowned in blackened water. Smoke blotted out the sun. She understood before most that the battle was already lost. She ordered her ships to withdraw. Roman historians would later call this cowardice. Modern historians call it a strategic retreat. What it truly was survival. Antony followed her, abandoning his fleet to chase her south. They did not speak for days. When they returned to Egypt, there was no romance. There was calculation. The treasury was nearly empty. The grain supply was failing. Roman merchants had vanished. Allies were already negotiating with Octavian. Cleopatra had months at best. She fortified Alexandria. She negotiated. She prepared to flee. And quietly, methodically, she began to study death. Sources confirm that Cleopatra tested poisons on condemned prisoners, observing which caused pain, which brought unconsciousness, which worked quickly. This was not despair. This was planning. As Roman armies approached, Antony withdrew into isolation, drinking himself into irrelevance. Cleopatra ruled alone. When Octavian's forces reached Alexandria, there was no real battle. The cavalry deserted. The fleet surrendered. By nightfall, Roman troops controlled the city. Cleopatra retreated to her mausoleum and sealed the doors. She sent Antony a message saying she was dead. He stabbed himself. He did not die. Bleeding and delirious, he was carried across the city to her tomb. Cleopatra refused to open the doors. Instead, she had him hauled up through a window on ropes. She pulled him up with her own hands, his blood covering her arms, her garments, her face. He died in her arms. The next morning, Roman soldiers broke into the mausoleum. Cleopatra was taken alive. She was not spared out of mercy. She was kept alive because her living body had value. Octavian intended to parade her through Rome in chains, to display her as the conquered queen who had humiliated Rome's enemies, to execute her publicly after the triumph. This was Roman policy. During her captivity, Cleopatra was denied sleep, denied privacy, watched constantly, degraded systematically, not beaten publicly, not mutilated, something worse. The night guards were given freedoms so long as no marks remained. This is not described in Roman sources directly. It is implied, euphemized, sanitized. The patterns are unmistakable. After days, Cleopatra stopped reacting. After weeks, she dissociated. Her servant Charmian would later describe a queen who sat where she was placed, spoke only when spoken to, whose eyes were open but empty. This was the state she was in when she learned the full truth. Octavian planned to take her to Rome. She would walk in chains. Her children would walk behind her. She would be strangled in prison. Her body would be displayed. And Caesarion was already dead. This is the moment romantic history avoids. Cleopatra did not choose death because of love. She chose it because she understood the alternative. If she lived, Rome would own her body, her image, her humiliation. Her children would watch. If she died now, Octavian would be denied his greatest trophy. Her children would be spared that image. Death was not surrender. Death was strategy. She requested permission to visit Antony's tomb. She bathed. She dressed simply. She requested food. The guards checked for weapons and poison. They did not check for a snake. What happened next was swift. When the guards entered, Cleopatra lay still, arranged as if sleeping. Charmian adjusted the crown on her head and said it was fitting for a queen descended from kings. Then she died beside her. Cleopatra was 39 years old. She had ruled Egypt for 21 years. She had been a prisoner for 23 days. Octavian was furious and impressed. He ordered her buried beside Antony. Egypt became a Roman province. Its wealth fed the empire. Its independence ended. Her children were taken to Rome. Only her daughter survived into adulthood. The dynasty ended. Cleopatra did not die for love. She did not die for tragedy. She died because she refused to be Rome's property. Her suicide was not weakness. It was the last act of control left to her. That is why Rome wrapped her story in romance. Because the truth is harder to face. She was broken deliberately. She was brutalized systematically. And still, she denied the empire its final victory. Remember Cleopatra not as a legend, but as a ruler who understood power and chose how her story would end. Her death was not defeat. It was defiance.